Awesome. Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of Align, where we help you align with your true self, with others, and your desired outcome to live your best life. Today we have a very special guest on. We have Marek, and we're going to discuss being friends with your ex or kind of the transformation from a relationship to a friendship. And so Mark was my first true love. Very personal topic to have on board. And any man I've ever dated since who's watching should thank him because I was a robot before we met. So it was only possible for me to have relationships after, since I've met you and kind of like opened up to this whole sphere of like love and dating. So I think everyone owes you a big thank you, Marek.
I think I have a big thank you to you too, for this because this is a very interesting topic and a very personal topic for me too. And I think it's gonna bring a lot of interesting memories.
I know. Are you ready? I'm excited.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Let's
so a
do
little
it.
bit of context, everybody, is we met 10 years ago. Jesus, we're getting old. We met 10 years ago. And what sparked this was I was going through my phone and cleaning out messages and whatnot. And I took a screenshot of what you sent me 2 years ago. And I'm going to read it to everybody because I think this is what sparked me to say, wow, the world really needs to know how to maintain friendships with exes. So you said to me, "Hey, I just had a moment to stop, and I was thinking about my life. I felt like I'm losing my ground a bit, and I wanted to get perspective, and was thinking and analyzing the people I have around me. And when contemplating came to you, I just had a moment of realization of how superb and rare it is, our relationship, and I am just in awe that we managed to keep it up. I am so genuinely happy to know you and have you in my life despite the time and distance. Don't take this as that I'm going crazy or all mush, but I really mean it. When I see people around and how relationships and friendships fall apart, it just made me even more appreciative. Not that I ever took our friendship for granted. I was always extremely thankful. So I guess here it is, just me saying it and acknowledging it out loud. You're awesome and great. I am happy to know you and have you around. Remember that?
100% true.
Yeah. And I
Stand
felt,
behind,
stand by it. You
stand
have to
by it.
stand by
Every single word.
it. Okay, good. So I felt absolutely the same way. And I think why I wanted you on is I want people to understand that, of course there'll be relationships where you can never be friends again. I'm not saying, things happen but for the most of it, there's no need to remove someone who was once so important in your life. And, they can actually be a really great resource and a connection and a friendship for you in a later stage, and relationships do evolve. So I know this is really unique for you because you're very shy about things like this too. So I really appreciate you doing this with me.
Yeah, I'll try my best to be as open and as thoughtful about these topics.
Okay, perfect. But yeah, feel free to just like obviously free flow, whatever comes from the heart. Don't feel like no PC in any way.
Okay.
So I think it'd be helpful to tell everyone like a little bit like quick story of how we all met. It's actually a funny story. I think there's my version and your version, but I guess I'll start with mine. So I was studying abroad, super excited to get away. Went to NYU, and like studying abroad was like the one thing I absolutely wanted to do. Decided on Prague, and like was like little American, like just landed in Prague, and I was there with my former best friend at the time, and we were on the train. What is it called again?
Tram.
The tram. We're on the tram, and there you were, and you had like this long skater boy hair back then, and like I looked over and I was like, oh my god, you looked so much like my high school crush. And I was like talking to my girlfriend, I was like, oh my god, doesn't that look like him? She's like, oh my god, it does. And we kept staring and looking, and then you looked over, I was like, oh shit, like he can hear English, like this is actually not him. Turns out we were going to the same place. Turns out that you were also part of the program. And my best friend at the time was like, oh, like we have to be in that cute guys section because we're gonna like walk us around and explore. And I was just like, okay, if it happens, it happens. And it happened, and kind of the rest was history. That was my recount. What was your recount?
Yeah, no, I remember very well the first time I saw you actually, and the first time engagement as well, when we talked for the very first time, which was in group of bunch of people, and you said that you were hungry and that you would like to eat some Czech sausage, and I was like, oh, you like Czech sauce? Which they obviously, had a, I was confused how you mean it back then. It was a definitely great opener and definitely, it definitely hit some switches in me. And I'm like, she's cool, cute, funny, like, and then the back thought like, oh, but I'm an RA, I'm a serious person.
And I remember, I wasn't sure if you thought it was a pickup line, but okay, being the avid researcher that I am, I remember like reading everything you got to do in like the square, and they're like you had to get sausages like on the street. So that's why I asked it. You looked at me and I was like, psycho. I was like, I'm like, oh, not
I
that
loved
kind of
it.
sausage.
I loved it. I was literally like, what? Really? Czech? I was like, I love Czech sausage. But
Oh,
yeah,
I left
the
an impression. It worked, huh?
totally perfect catchphrase. Whenever like in Europe, Germany, Slavic countries, this is your way to do.
Oh my God. So awesome. And that's how we met. And then fast forward a bit. So, what did we learn about relationships when we were together?
So there is a bunch of things. Also, there is one thing that it's a bit different now looking back, because obviously we grew as a people,
Yeah.
and you see, or I think I see things differently now looking back rather than when I was in the situation, as a 20-year-old kid, back then. And one thing is as well that we were very, very innocent back then, and everything was so pure, and we were not spoiled in any way. And now, like, looking back, I think that played major role in that as well, that we approached it purely the things with as well perhaps no expectations. We went with the flow, and it was perfectly natural. It just happened as as it happens when you're young, and you just go with it, and you're very present. And I think the presence was one of the things that I think I learned a lot, particularly from you, I would say, uh, because you were always very energetic, but you were always very thoughtful and switched on, but also like like deep in these aspects. And for me, this was definitely one of the things. And you were very communicative, which helped a lot. I think you were much more outspoken than I was.
Yeah.
I was used to be like like the typical, I guess, I don't know how to put it, the typical old school, old fashioned boy, like boys don't talk about their emotions, and you do your thing and the girl does her thing. But you're very outspoken about it, and the communication, I think, was a key that I learned from you, and I think that helped a lot to build another things. It was the basic foundation, because I remember for as well that for example back then, right, we were in university, right, and so you're with someone and you date someone from your university, right, so there's a certain level of comfort in that,
Yeah.
the person is in university, it's like the same environment and stuff like that, and so there's no insecurities about that. But your and mine situation was different, right? You were at university, I was an RA, and I had, separate university and separate life aside of that. And but I've never felt anything from, like anything negative regarding like any, insecurity or anything like that from you. You just fully trusted, and or we were fully trusting each other. And thanks to the communication and understanding, and I think that was a very good basis form, which really opened my eyes back then, because I think that before as well, like, again, we are kids, right, so we are still finding our ways and we are still figuring out ourselves. And but this was, I think, two major things that I took from that thing. So
I love that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think as well one more thing which
No,
I
no, no. I love this. Go ahead.
when I think about it is I think that I learned much more about myself thanks to you, like you see like the other person, let's say if it's a right relationship, if it's based on the right values, it works sort of as a mirror, right? In certain way. Like it mirrors you, and and that can affect you both positively or negatively. But then it depends on the other person. You were very positive input for me, uh, so it really helped me to understand how I, feel about, like, explore my own, parts of whatever my soul or, what I'm made of, what are my opinions, because back then, as I said, we were really forming a lot, in these aspects. So all these different inputs were very, very, yeah, very, yeah, I think it shaped my opinions about that. So
Hmm. I
yeah.
love that. Yay, I didn't know that. Okay, great. So I echo a lot of those. I think first is just going with the flow. Like that was so, a little bit of background is I told you this, but before we met, like, my whole point in living in life was crush it at school, get to top uni, get a like the top job, and then let's talk life, right? Like I always thought of men as a distraction, and I always was very upfront with men to say like, I'm not here for feelings, I'm here for fun, and that's it. Like I'm like it's very clear where my line is. And I think when I went to Prague, it was a combination of like I just had a very open mindset of like whatever happens. And so like when I met you, it was a combination of like that mindset of being open, but same time like I just felt very like safe with you. And I think it's a aspect of you being European, and I just feel Europeans tend to be a little bit more comfortable with like sharing their vulnerabilities and their emotions. Like I've never had that before. Like American guys, from my experience right then, were like, I don't talk about feelings. I don't do that. Like I'm just,
I
and then
was the same.
oh, you know what I mean? And I just get a wall that I'm like, all right, that's it. That's all the depth I get. So I think like what I learned was like being like having no expectations and just going with it was so important, because like we were free to say and think and feel however we felt, and that was fine. We didn't really care, which was helpful. I think the communication was definitely important. I think another big thing, two big things, was because I was so excited to be in a new country and all that stuff, like I never made my life about you and what you did or didn't do. Like I wasn't like I just wasn't like, oh, like why hasn't Mark called? Or oh, like I was just doing me, right? And like when you called, we hung out, and when we had plans, we did our thing, but it was never like checking up on you or like waiting around for you, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
And that made me realize like I definitely never want to be in a relationship where like I have nothing going on for myself, and the only thing I have to do is like wait for the guy to call. Like that's my life, you know. That was something I learned. And then last but not least is that pureness, right? I think like I will never forget, we were literally in your dorm, and like put the context, like I mean it's like a typical dorm, right? You have like a twin size bed, right? You have like a normal size, it's like just like a simple dorm. And I will never forget, I was waking up, like the sun was pouring in and like the birds were chirping, and I was like looking out the window, and like I'm pretty sure at the time I had like $0 in my bank account, maybe like $500 or whatever it was. I was the happiest I've ever been up in that point in my life. And it made me realize like it really is not about the materialist shit. It's not about the accolades. It's just when you're in the right company and you feel safe, like that was the happiest I was up to that point in my life. And that was a wake up call of just like all the stuff that you're running for, like all the money, the success, whatever, success and all that stuff. Like check yourself and ask yourself, is it worth sacrificing your life for all, like only caring about this and not caring about everything else? So that was definitely what I
Yeah,
learned.
no, and I totally agree with the open-minded point. Approaching things with a open hand sort of a thing,
Yeah.
because I think that makes a really big difference too. Because I think that, for example, you coming from States, right, and me, being European, and there was a big difference as well. In our, like, we were same, but we were also very different in many
Very
aspects.
different.
It
Yeah.
was the very first time when we encountered, person from like such a different background, uh, and I think that as well, seeing those differences between us, even like like literally not just the cultural, but many other ones. Rather seeing those differences and perceiving them as like an obstacles, I think it was also the open mind has helped to perceive them rather as opportunities, for you to learn something and to grow, and to really, like you should appreciate it for that thing. And for me, like, back then that was the thing as well, I could have, or we could have looked at each other and be like, oh, this is weird. Why is he like that? And rather like, oh, that's interesting. That's a new way how to look at the things.
Yeah.
And I really love that, and I think that was a big factor in that way as well, that you are just so open-minded and go with the flow with the things rather than like, judging like, oh, like this doesn't fit into me. It's like, well, how do you know what fit into you? You know only what fit into you till a certain point in the life, but you don't know what is ahead. You just, you act based on your past experiences. So
Yeah. Yeah.
so yeah.
When you share things, like I go back in time and I think about that, and like I'm totally with you. I just always saw time with you as an adventure. Like it was like doesn't matter what we were doing. It could be like walking the street, it could be like anything. It was just always so fun because I felt like because we had such different upbringings, I was always entering like a new journey or a movie when I was talking. Like even when I was talking to you, it was like a whole new world, right? And like we could literally just be like in bed chatting, but like when you were sharing your stories, I could envision things, and I was like literally traveling while you were talking about it. So yeah, I think I love that. Like, I think not looking at differences as an obstacle, but as an opportunity for like, what can I adopt into my life that will make me a richer person based on like your attributes and what you've gone through, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
love that.
exactly.
So then, okay, well, that's what we learned when we were together. What did we learn after? So after we broke up, what did we learn? It could be immediate, it could be now.
I think there were a lot of things based on that thing that I maybe not immediately figured out,
Yeah.
but it's like, yeah, when you're approaching things, as you say, like going with the flow, right? I don't think that you should ever approach a relationship with an agenda, or I don't think that you should approach any person whatsoever or anything that you do with any agenda. I think that you should give it 100%, but you should remain open-minded and, but like literally not to impose things on yourself or on the other people. Just be present, enjoy it, and like go with it. So uh, that's one thing. I believe that the understanding part, it really dawned upon me, later on as well, that I think a lot of issues or yeah, miscommunications and issues, and why people, whether it's in relationships or friendships, when it goes like south, I think it's based on the communication as well. So it just really comes down and on that. And I think that the reason as well, when you open with the message, that I wrote you, it was as I said, that it was like a bit tough time back then. I was starting my own business, and I had some really good friends of mine who were in long term, like in long real term relations, like for years, and they broke apart and they shared a big part of their life, and then it just like it just finished, but there was no continuation. It just all those years went to dumpster, in that way. And uh, and and yeah, I could not understand it. So that's as well, what triggered me to write that message then. And I just think that the miscommunication, the different expectations, or to have an agenda, is one thing that for sure definitely uh, clicked in me later as well after that relationship. So
I
yeah.
love
And being on the same page, like that's the thing, like go with the flow, but being as well on the same page, which like I feel everything is like very interconnected. You cannot say that there are different parts, because all together they make one thing, and I think that even if you leave one thing, it's much more likely to crumble. So there has to be like all of these things, that all of these aspects should be there, not just some of them, if you want to have a wholesome relationship. So
Yeah, I
so
agree.
yeah.
I'm 100% with you, kind of expanding on a little bit of what you mentioned. The communication thing, what I've learned is there's a part of me, because like you were my first everything, right? That like there's also a part of me that like wanted to always be like Miss Perfect. Like I had to be the best, and I just had this thing where I always wanted to be like the best girlfriend or the best whatever, that when there were things and worries and concerns coming to my mind, and only happened when we were like physically separated because I went home, but we were still together, that I didn't share with you because I didn't felt like I didn't want to burden you. I felt like I didn't want to be like that, like Debbie Downer or things like that. And what I've learned is that like you need to share your feelings, you need to share your concerns in a way that's digestible, right? Like I'm not going to scream at you, but what happens is if I don't share it, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months down the line, it's going to explode.
Yeah,
And
it builds up.
builds up, right? And like the person receiving is like, yo, what the hell? I thought we were cool, you know, which is what happened. And so, like, what I learned is like, Jess, like, stop trying to be the cool girl. That's not cool. And that's not who you are. And it's not even like, no one wants that. Be very upfront when you feel things, like, not immediately, but like, sleep on it. And if you still feel it, like, you need to edge people along the way how you feel. And I just definitely learned that, like, I had to be more honest with you, not just with the good stuff, but the bad stuff. And that's something that I've learned, that I was like, I need to be much more transparent with my lovers going forward. Like, I can't just be always butterflies and rainbows, because it's not, right? So that's one thing. Um, yeah, like the no agenda thing was huge for me. But I think one thing, like, when, when it's your first love, you always think like love is enough. Love is going to get you everywhere. Like, that's all you need. And like, don't get me wrong, like, I try to look for things to stay in Prague, like internships or like whatever, or like studying abroad again. Like, you were looking into coming here. Like, we did our part, but at some aspect, like, it's just like, you need to have a plan. That's what I've learned. Like,
Yeah,
if you want to stay together, like, you need to have a plan to be physically together. Like, going with the flow at some point is good to create and cultivate the magic, but at some point, like, you need to have like implementable, realistic steps of how you're going to maintain the relationship. So I
yeah,
think that's something that, like, I definitely learned. And adding that is, don't fight the force, right? Like, sometimes chapters are just meant to be shorter, and that's okay, right? And I remember me saying this to you, and I really still do believe it. If it's meant to be, you will drift back together. I'm big on that. Like, if this is your person, or this is supposed to happen to you, it will come back. I'm not saying like you should just sit on your ass and not do anything. Like, we both did our part, but at some point when it's like you both try and you both are trying to aim to the same goal, but you're still not getting there, like, maybe this is just the chapter's supposed to end here, and you're supposed to begin a new chapter for whatever reason, right? I think that, like, me, I was just trying to hold on to like the happiest parts of my life, and not, again, being present, which was the beauty of what made our relationship, was we were so present. And so me trying to live in the past and hold on to the past while still in New York, like, that just spiraled me into a very, very dark place. So I learned that, like, you just need to go with the flow and be present.
yeah, yeah. No, I totally agree on all of those things. It's like, I think like a lot of people also misunderstand it. They're like, oh, you go with the flow, you're being present, so you live in the moment. But it's not about that. It's just that you're being honest with the other person. You're being honest with yourself. I think that's also something that people oftentimes underestimate quite a bit. That you're not honest with yourself, and if you're not honest with yourself, how can you be with the other person? And
Yep.
if and then it cannot never work. Because your foundations, everything starts from the foundations. Like if we come back to the to the essential values or whatever cornerstones, uh if those are not there, then you cannot build on that, or whatever you build on that is going to crumble or moves with, because life is full of unexpected things, and things change, people evolve, and I think that's yeah, definitely important in that way. So
Mm. Yeah, I think another thing was, I think it was really big with you as well, where like, I respected and loved you for who you were, and I wasn't trying to make you who you're not, right? Like, it was never like I was trying to mold you to this Barbie, sorry, this to this Ken. It was just like, you or Mark. Like, the reason I was with you was because of you, and like, if there were things that I'm like, you could, like, areas of improvement, I knew you would get there on your own. You were not like my project that I wanted to
yeah,
fix. Does that make sense?
yeah,
Um,
yeah, no, absolutely.
yeah.
But you were very encouraging as well, I remember, because yeah, yeah, no, totally, I remember it, because yeah, there was a university, and back then I was working too, and it was complicated. Like, it was not easy at all. You can say, oh, you were young, there was everything easy, there was no worries and stuff. Like, it was difficult. Back then I was graduating as well, I had a job that I had to go to. You were at the study exchange, so it was not easy. I was an RA, so there was a lot of obstacles, I think, which we actually, I think, tackled well
Yeah.
in that aspect. So, and you always, like, I think that some of the things we could have drifted off, on
Yeah.
those things, but it wasn't like that, in that way at all. You always understood, and you were like even encouraging, like, yeah, you have to go, you do that, you should maybe do it this way, and the communication, yeah, yeah, absolutely.
That's a good point. Yeah, like, my thing was like, I saw you in like all your glory, and like, I never wanted to be the reason why you couldn't be the best version of yourself. I'm still big on that. Like in a relationship, you should only be with me if I'm going to make you the best version of you. If I'm going to hold you back, like what the fuck? You shouldn't be dating me.
Yeah.
Go somewhere else. You know what I mean? Or like don't date, right? But like needing to I just always felt safe. I didn't feel the need to like contain you or like take all your time. For me, I just knew that when we were together, we always had the best time. So I'd rather you like kill it in every area of your life. I do my thing, and then when we come together, we're fully present with each other.
Yeah, and
So
that goes with what you were saying, so not forcing things, which I've learned a little bit later. Uh, I
yes.
made some of my mistakes on that, like because you feel something, and that's the mistakes that we, if you're passionate about something, you're gonna do. It's inevitable, but it's okay to do those mistakes. But it's important to learn from those. But yeah, when you care about something and you want it, you're ready to bend yourself or anything, in order to achieve it. But
Yeah,
that's not about it.
that's
It's
your ego.
if you open, then it should flow.
Yeah,
The other person, it should flow between you, and it's like a river. If you are to use that allegory, it
yeah,
starts like a small stream, and it flows by itself. But the more down the road you get, the bigger it gets, right?
yeah.
So, and it's the growth. That's the natural growth. It entails in its lifetime. So, and I think that, yeah, that's how it should be: natural, open, and unrestraining.
Yeah. So funny that you said that, because after your first everything, you know, the bar was just set a certain way that like I couldn't help but compare like everyone after to you, right? And so obviously I've learned like you have your own unique DNA and no one's ever going to be you, and that's a beautiful thing. Just like whoever else that I date next is going to be unique, right? And
Yeah,
to your point, because like that's kind of all I knew for better or worse, like I just expected all the other relationships to be like just as seamless and just as easy. And then when it wasn't working, like my ego kicked in. I was like, I will make this fucking work, you know? And you
yeah,
start forcing it. You're right. You're like, I'll swim downstream, like I'll do whatever it takes, And then you realize you wake up and you're like, you idiot. It's not working because it's not a right fit.
yeah,
Just
yeah,
let it be. Like if it's a right fit for the right time, like it will just flow. So I think what I learned is that you got really lucky, Jess, with Marek. Like not every person is going to be like that. So pick wisely. You need to pick someone who's going to feel that, if not in a different way, right? But it has to be that level of comfort and trust. Like you can't be like working and slaving behind the scenes to make this relationship work, right?
yeah. No,
So
absolutely.
that's so funny.
Learning to let go, it's a big factor. So
Yeah.
just like it's something you based upon. It's not it. You finish. It's like the puzzle. It's a piece of a puzzle. It's a piece of you. It makes you more whole, but
Yes.
it does not. That one piece does not define you entirely. There's a lot of other pieces to come into the place
Yes.
and to shape you. Or to finalize the picture of that. So you just take it, own it, keep it close to you, cherish it, and go ahead. Like, I think you should always keep going forward. A lot of people get stuck in the past or in the future, and especially on the negative things. I understand when someone gets hurt, and I believe it happened to everyone. It happened to me a few times too.
Mhm.
And it's easy to hold on to it. Like, I think it's kind of a natural thing to us people, actually. When something hurts, it feels real, and that's more you hold on to it in that way.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
but at the same time, if like, these things just hold you back down, it's like like having a steel ball chain to you, and without letting go, you're never going to be able to move forward, so to raise above. So
Yeah.
yeah, letting go, definitely.
So I really believe that forgiveness and moving on is not about, for the other person, it's for you. Because trust me, the person that you're stressing about ain't stressing about you. All right. That's why
Yeah,
they've moved on. So like you need to do the same. And I just feel like even when someone does you wrong, of course your ego wants to like hold on to that, right? It's like a fighter. Everyone wants to hold on to like who's ever done me wrong. Who's that hurting? Who's that helping? It's helping nobody. It's only hurting you, right?
yeah,
And I've seen so many men who, like, again, I think it's a society where you don't talk about your feelings, you don't open up. So when you finally do, and this girl tears open your heart, you can't move on. right? Because you're like, oh my gosh, this is the only person I've ever opened up to, and then there's
Just
like no one else like her. How many broken men have us women dated that I'm like, oh my fucking god, like your ex just like completely destroyed you. And it's just when you like let go, like what you focus on only magnifies. If you, to your point, be open to other possibilities, other people, like you can absolutely have a much more even aligned relationships if you just let that shit go.
yeah, yeah, totally. Just if it's too hard, just focus on the positive side, and just let go of the negative one. It's like it doesn't serve any purpose whatsoever.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like, well, in a way, it doesn't serve you purpose in the long term. Besides, in that moment.
Right.
Like, you know, how to put it. I have this. I don't know how to. It's like
You check.
it's like when you break your leg, right?
Yeah.
It hurts and stuff. But then when it grows together, the bone is stronger in that way. It makes you
Yeah.
whole. So
Yeah.
it's part of you. It doesn't mean that it has to slow you down. It's just part of you, and you just move forward with that.
Yeah. So I have to say, every single time I've gotten heartbroken, it could be romantically, it could be work, it doesn't matter what it was. I've always bounced back higher. So now I've gotten a point where I just, okay, when something shitty happens, I'm like, all right, apparently something good's coming after it. Because if it was so great and dandy, that bad thing wouldn't have to come to undo the foundation, right?
Yeah.
So for some reason, you had to undo the foundation. So just trust whatever is new that's building is more aligned with you, right? So, so let's talk about like what are the benefits with being friends with your ex, or like what are some ways that we stayed, we were there for each other, like we helped each other out afterwards, we maintained a friendship. What are the perks of being friends with your ex?
Ooh, there's many, I would say, and I think that just like being friends with your ex, it says a lot about your past relationship in a way, and the values that you both have in a way. Because I thought about it several times, and I think that it's like, if the other person was the right person, right, and you valued that person for something, for who they are, for how they were enriching. Those things didn't change. The fact that you're no longer together romantically doesn't change what you valued the other person for, right? It's still there. The substance is still like, it may happen that it's not there, but for most of the cases, or if it's right, if the relationship you started with, it's based on the right things, it's still going to be there. And just, I think, to let go of that, if you come across such a unique and amazing person, to let go of that, it's I think it'd be just pure shame. Because I think that great people having great people in your life is it's a blessing.
Yeah.
So and if you have person like that who knew you on the kind of inside, who understood you, and you got over that, then I think that makes the bond stronger in a way. You can put it that way. You're more open. You got over the hurdle of breaking up, and then you maintain in touch. So then it's like, oof, we went through this shit.
Yeah.
So it's like, god damn, like I'm not afraid to tell you anything now.
I feel the same way. No,
So
that's no.
yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, no. So I think it's just the fact that you can talk about things openly with no judgment,
Yeah.
and just benefit from the. It's like a third party opinion or
Yeah.
something external that understands you. It's not purely outside, because it understands some of your internal things, and can provide you with an input which is different, but can provide the input in the way that you can process and understand, because someone else might tell you something, you're like, no, that's bullshit, like I don't. But I trusted this person, I still do, and they know me, and so what they say, there has to be something true about it, even though you don't like to be hearing it. So
Yeah. No, I agree. I am with you on that. I think like the perks of being friends with ex is, when it's a true ex that you had a deep, honest relationship with, they just know you, right? They know you they know the parts of you that sometimes you don't really know about yourself. And
totally.
right. And so like, and when you have that relationship where you can be super honest, like both you and I, like when we were at very dark moments of our like romantic lives, like you with you and your another ex, me with another ex, like we were able to give like just like it was unbiased feedback because it's not a relationship, but it was biased because you really knew our strengths and weaknesses, right? So
Yeah.
I found that super invaluable. I remember when I was at my lowest point, you were like the first person I texted and you sent me the book. What was the book about, like men and women, how men and women think? It's like some, like, I think warrior book.
Oh,
I don't remember what it was, but it literally like I remember I was shaking when things were happening, and you sent me that. I was like, girlfriend, you're reading this book before you go to bed. It literally like changed me, right? Because I think when you are so emotional and you're dealing with your personal life, you forget, like, you think everything's about you. You think things that go bad or things that go well
yeah.
is about you. It's never about you. Everyone's living about for themselves, right? So you made that really clear to me. Oh yeah, I remember the biggest takeaway is men, like true alpha men, their purpose or their goal or their career, whatever it is, will always be number one, and you want that. Okay. The number two is the love life. Versus a woman, oftentimes her love life is the one and everything else number two. And it's
Yeah.
that yin and yang that becomes the balance. That was like, when I read that, I was like, got it. Makes
Revelation.
right. I'm back on track now. Okay. But yeah, so I think like it's helpful because when you have something that you truly trust, and I always feel like when you've had that strong feeling for someone, like that part of you never goes away. Like that connection is always going to be with you no matter what evolves or changes in your life. Like, why not tap into that resource? It's
Yeah,
just, why not
absolutely.
to, right? And like even like when it comes to like work stuff, we bounce ideas off each other all the time, right? Like you're very acclimated in Europe. I know US. We always share things about businesses and business ideas, and like it's nothing but been like very productive, but fun, right? Like it hasn't been like, I don't know. I have nothing bad to say after
Yeah,
we
no,
broke up.
I don't think it's restricted just, to, advising yourself on a love life. It just goes to business as well. I remember I reached out to you so many times regarding some work stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was the thing that I think it was whenever we did something in States or in relations, it's like, oh yeah, who do I, come to? And it's like you, because first of all, I trusted you as well. So, and it was, it's like, even if you're not gonna know, you will be able to point me in the right direction. And I know that you're not gonna screw me over or anything. If I'm gonna
Right.
just approach you cold, then it might be a different thing. But yeah, it was work, personals, like love life, personal things as well.
True.
It's just really great. Like I think that's the thing. A lot of people think, I believe, that when the relationship ends, that it's the end. Like it can be the end, but it can also transform into something else. It transform into like really great friendship. Like, you don't know, you sometimes you don't know that well with some of your friends, because the friendship is still bit of a safe zone.
Yeah.
And but when the relationship actually broke up, you went over several hurdles, and you were very open and very vulnerable with the other person. I mean, you're the same with the friends, but it's definitely kind of
It's deeper.
yeah, yeah, really.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that. So, what do you think allowed us to maintain a friendship? A mindset, qualities, things we saw each other. What do you think it was that allowed us to maintain it?
Well, besides technology,
Yeah,
that was a
that's funny.
great help.
You remember when we were chatting, we're still on Blackberries? You remember that? Remember I still had
I was
Blackberry.
thinking about it. BlackBerry Messenger, because there was no
Yeah.
WhatsApp back then. There was nothing. And
Nothing.
I remember as well when we broke up, the communication. Like I remember, I wrote a long email. We were emailing each other as well.
Yeah.
Crazy. It was like to convey something deep and
Yeah.
into a BlackBerry message. You die typing it on that thing, right? So yeah. And also, but besides the technology, which was
Yeah.
a great. Uh, uh, yeah, I don't know what it was on your end, but I
I,
think I think you mentioned forgiveness, and I think forgiveness, to oneself as well, because I think that, like, I think I would have maybe done some things differently, and I remember that I was not very happy with some of the things, but I was just like, as I said, I was like, yeah, well, you screw up, and or life goes on. I mean, in that way.
yeah.
But then you come back to the thing that, yeah, well, I value this person for something, so I don't want to give up on that. or I don't want to, lose that in that way, because it transforms into something, and you see the potential there, you see all those values, and it's just like, well, it's there, like, but it's, kind of been there before as well. So it's yeah, I'm not very firm in that way,
No,
I guess.
it's okay. So
Yeah.
let me go, and then if it
Yeah.
jogs something else, definitely share. I think what allowed me to maintain it is, to your point, like I just had deep respect for you, and I just had like deep love for you, that I knew that even if it's not romantic love, it will just be there. So it doesn't, like, I just wanted, I think, I remember, oh God, I still remember this. You were thinking, crazy. I remember like a couple days before I left. In my mind, I always thought like, okay, like when I leave, we're gonna be broken up, and that's that, right? Like, hello, we live in different countries. Hello. Um, and I remember you laughing at me, and I know I said to you, I was like, I don't want to hold you back. I want you to like live your life. You're so young. You're like 22, 23 at the time. And like, I thought the world of you. I honestly did not want you to miss out on the opportunity to date other women and like explore life before you settle down. Right. That's my thing. And you remember you said to me,
I don't want.
okay, I remember, and we were eating pizza, and you started laughing. I'm like, what? He's like, you don't want to hold me back, or you want to go see other guys, right? And which is a very normal reaction.
Yeah.
And then I was sitting there, I was like, I genuinely just did not want to hold you back. Like, I
Mhm.
had no intentions of like seeing other people. I had no intention, whatever. I just didn't want to hold you back. And I think that's why my biggest thing was, I just had such deep love and respect for you that like I would never want to A, hold you back, or B, like miss out on the opportunity to just have you in my life in a different way. Right. And like, to be fair, like none of us did anything that was like wildly crazy or like disrespectful, or we didn't royally fuck up. It was literally just a circumstance. And so, like, to your point, there are things that I was obviously not very happy about how we handled things, but it was forgiveness because, dude, we're freaking young. And
Kids.
we were like chill. We were like very mature in mindset, but children, right?
Yeah.
And I just wanted to give us both a little bit of grace because we were just trying to like live the best way that we knew how. So I think that was big. And then the second thing, I keep saying it again and again, but it's so true, like the concept of chapters, right?
Mhm.
Like life is not black and white. It's not this or that. There's just literally 50 shades of gray. And like I didn't want to, I just unmarried myself to the idea that like this is how it has to be, versus like this is what it was, and then there's going to be another chapter that will evolve, and like Mark will be part
Yeah.
of my life in a different way, right? So I just want to be more open-minded to that, whatever it would evolve into. And I think the last thing is just not holding you back and always wanting what's best for you. And I always wanted to see like how things were how things were how are you doing, how things were going for you, like in any aspect of your life. So I think that was just like the curiosity and genuine care that made me like continue our friendship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's like, if you genuinely care about someone, it's like, you want them to be happy regardless.
Yes.
So that's, I guess, what you're saying, that it moves into that. It's like, hey, you know what? Doesn't matter that we're not together. I still want you to be happy. That's the bottom line. That's always been the bottom line. It just now manifested in different way.
Yeah.
And if I can be part of that, I can help you, on the way, or just be there for you. Damn, I'm happy. I'm signing up for that. It's
Yeah.
great to see someone, moving forward, and someone who's been close to you. So definitely.
Right. Awesome. Last question. This has been
Yes.
an episode. I really want to share a very abundant mindset when it comes to love life. Not, I want people to not think a breakup is the end of their life, right? Because, like, to be fair, that's how it could feel. That's how I fucking felt when I came back. I was like, how do I climb back to my old life in Prague, right? I was like, so, what are some mindsets or tips and tricks you would share with people to kind of help them get over this breakup, and or like think about life as more than just one chapter?
It's interesting because I had conversation about it with a friend of mine recently,
Okay.
and it started completely different way, because we were talking something about statistics and stuff, and there's there's several billion people in the world.
Yeah.
You're just a speckle, and there is so many people and so much opportunity, and it's just the world is insanely big and full of things, and it's I think there's enough for everyone to find what they're looking for.
Mhm.
And and I remember we were a bit tipsy and we were joking about it, and I remember I said something that uh, I said something in the line that I believe that if everyone, because some people are like, I cannot find, my love, or something like I can find the right person, and like, well, like you just see the world in very narrow way. But if you would take, let's say, 1 year vacation and you would travel around the world and you would meet so many people, I guarantee to everyone that they would fell in love and find the right person, perhaps, not
Like,
necessarily, but like you catch the drift, right? And I think it comes down, and I think because like I draw the correlation to traveling the world, because I think that embodies some of the things that we discussed as well, because you're open-minded, you travel, right? You're present, you you see people, you're open to other people, you go with the flow, you're not pushing things certain way. And that's at least how I feel when I travel, and somewhere where I haven't been before. And I think that just this kind of manifests, the the endless opportunities that are out there, and you just need to open yourself to them.
yeah.
So I think, yeah.
No, yeah, I'm with you. I think the reason why we have such a good time when we're on vacation is you're so open, you're down to try everything. Everything's like you're not no expectations, right? Like whatever kind of happens
Yeah,
is great. You go with the flow. Um, I would say like one thing about adopting the abundant mindset is like have more loves in your life. Like
mm,
finding the love of your life should not be your only priority. Like for both you and I, like when we were together, it was so awesome. It was beautiful. It was fun. It was deep because like we had so many things going for ourselves. Not just, it wasn't like you were my life and I was not just your life, right? You were a big part of my life, but you were not the only thing. And I think what people forget is like, it's not like a career or anything else where like if you put all your energy in it, you're going to find the person.
yeah,
No, it's when you're truly aligned with who you are supposed to be at this moment along your journey. That's when you're going to be magnetic to people who are also supposed to be in your life at that time. So instead of going out to find your dream person, like really create loves in your life. Your love for drawing, your love for your career, your love for family, your love for whatever it may be, and then along the way, you will attract many suitors. But
absolutely.
I'm a big believer in that you have many chapters in your life. You have a lot of romantic, like fling things, but there are only a few, maybe two or three, maybe two people in your life that could really be a good life partner. And you
Yeah,
need to decide what chapter you are. Are you playing? Are you exploring? Or are you trying to find your life partner? And when you do, like, don't take that person for granted because there's only a few people that you can really connect and evolve with over time.
yeah. And I perfectly agree with your point about the love, that it, or that it should not be the goal, it should be the outcome. And a lot of people replace it and they put it like, oh no, like I need to, this is the thing I need to, and they're in search for that. It's not a search, it's the outcome, it's the product of how you live your life, which attracts people to your life.
Right.
So uh yeah, it's not, you're not looking for that thing, you're looking for the other person, with whom you're gonna embody that thing, kind of a.
Yes. I
Yeah.
love that. The love is the outcome, it's not the goal. I like
Yes.
that.
Yes.
Um,
I'm a strong believer of that.
awesome. Well, Marek, thank you so much. I know this wasn't easy for you because you're not the most, well, you're a little camera shy. You don't even like pictures, right? So thank you for this. It was actually very healing for me. I hope it was healing for you,
It was very, very nice. Actually, I
right?
enjoyed the
Like
discussion.
going back in time.
Yeah.
Now I'm
Yeah.
like running through my filter. I'm like, who do I need to add and remove and on my love bench at this moment? Who's not meeting the criteria? Who's making the criteria? Who should be promoted and fired along the way? No, but no, thank you so much. Honestly, I'm glad we did this. One thing I always ask everyone before we wrap up is I think everyone has a unique gift that you can share with the world to make it a better place. What do you think your unique gift is?
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Well, I think the actions should speak louder than words. So I think that that should manifest in the way how I live, and I think that's more up to people who are close to me to say that here. uh, I would like to think that I do have maybe more than one. but,
Yeah.
uh, I think that one thing which I'm not ashamed to admit is that I don't have much fear. I think that fear holds people back, and I've been lucky to overcome it to a certain degree. All of us are always gonna fears of something, you know. But I think that so far I've been good at tackling it and inspiring, hopefully, some of my close friends, you know, to tackle it as well, one way or another. So yeah, I'm a bit fearless.
Oh, you are. I mean, hey, from what I remember, and from now, like also today, like you definitely have. You just don't give an F. Like if
Yeah,
you want it, you're gonna go for it, right? And you don't care if the rules are stacked against you. You're like, whatever, I'll figure it out. So,
I think that people take life sometimes too serious. I know that you know, you were grown ups and stuff like that, but I think the game and the odds are the same. They just got bigger. You know, when you're a small kid, you play the same games, kind of. You know, you play with the toys and you have your car. You know, you have your Barbie house and stuff like that. You grow, you want pretty much the same things. They just get bigger. They get more real.
I like
But
that.
I think the game is literally the same, and I think it should be approached the same. It should be approached uh, joyfully. You should approach it with fun. It should not be a hassle for you or like a negative hassle. You shouldn't be like, oh my god, I have to do this. I think you can find positive things in everything that you do, and yeah, and just play the life like we're big grown up kids.
Yeah, I like that.
Uh,
Oh, I like that so much. Awesome.
Playfulness and honesty is I think can, yeah, I think being truthful and being honest with yourself with others can go a long way,
Mm,
and you know, being loving to yourself and other people. So yeah,
I love it.
that was probably a different thing that you asked me. I'm sorry.
No,
I
this is good.
you
This
know
is
about that
no,
one.
no, this is perfect. I love it.
That's
I
a
like it.
different podcast.
Huh?
That's a different podcast.
No, 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 no. This is great. I just want things to come from the heart. So
Yeah.
thank you again, Marek. Seriously.
My
Grateful for you. Bye, dear.